Hello, 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 beautiful people. Welcome to Beyond Hegemony. I'm joined here with Garry and Sahana. We are all either sweating or fretting.
I
the, the chaos of the world has not let us make us go down, but it sure is getting in the damn way. So,
oh man,
how's how are you two?
oh my God. I don't know. Thank you, Trina. Thank you, Gary. I think folks like you keep me sane. Truly, I mean, right now it's a struggle, isn't it? I mean,
Mhm.
I don't even know if we should call this the age of extreme irony.
Mm.
You
Oh,
know,
oh,
literally. I mean, the genociders calling students asking for peace terrorists and whatever else, and
Oh
calling the
my
police on them. I
National
mean,
Guard. Yeah, yeah.
absolute age of I don't even know. Should we call it dissonance, extreme irony, or
Ah,
just very, very poor imperial colonial joke ending in implosion? I don't know.
no, I call them temper tantrums. That's what I
yeah,
call them. That's
yeah.
what I call it. Is a bunch of mantrums and colonialism trums and hegemonic trums, whatever. It's just them going, no, you won't stop us.
I know.
It's,
We have so much fun killing, and you are trying to stop us.
You
How
try to
dare you?
stop our fun and our take away our perceived
My God.
power. Hey, this Gen Z, I'm sitting here clapping my hands,
Oh,
jumping up
yeah.
and down.
A
yeah, yeah, yeah,
huge
yeah.
clap to the students. A huge, huge shout out. I mean, I love them. I love them.
They're
I
doing
love
what we
the
should.
Gen
What,
Zs.
yeah, what they're doing, what the boomers and the millennials should have done, and we
No,
just
they're cleaning up our
didn't.
shit. They're literally cleaning up our
Yeah.
shit.
Hell yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah. Totally the same. But do you know something else as well, though? What I've been really observing
Mm,
is it's so curious, right? That what they did to us, our generations and the ones above us, they gave us enough rope that we didn't feel comfortable to speak up against
Oh, we
enough,
lost Gary.
Oh,
Oh,
Gary.
right?
Gary, right? Okay, there you go. That was good.
Yeah, yeah,
Continue
yeah,
again.
yeah. I was just going to say that, like, what I've learned the last couple of years has been, and in my own experience, I form Gary. Yeah,
Hmm.
I've not spoken up until the last couple of years, even the most recent months, because of the comfort, right? The relative comfort, like the system,
Yeah.
the capitalism, the way of life, right? And these youngsters, I'm not saying they wouldn't do it anyway, but they've got nothing left. Like they've
They
got
have
nothing
nothing
left. So
left.
they're so yes, we should have done it more earlier. But the way
Hmm.
hegemony operates is to like give you enough crumbs that you feel you're not going to react and challenge the system. And now
That's
they've gone
right.
too far the other way. It's like,
Yeah.
and what we're seeing, like, and I'm just loving what you both opened with. Like it's so obvious. Like they're not even doing hegemony well anymore.
No. They are simply a bunch of old men all over the place trying to prevent themselves from melting into oblivion and trying to prevent becoming obsolete, which they've already done. I mean, they're already obsolete, and they're
That's right.
throwing tantrums. I mean, they are all 70s and 80s octogenarians who should just be out there gardening quietly in their little corner of the garden. And now they are throwing tantrums because they can't control the world anymore, even as they are
That's right.
old enough to
Hmm.
leave the world.
Right. And not really even giving a damn that they're on their way out. They're on their way out anyway. And as our native people have been telling us, we're supposed to be preserving and taking care of the world and each other for 10 generations. Okay? These a-holes couldn't even do it for two. Okay? And so I'm so I'm so over their voices. I'm over the propaganda. You can't even look at their face without just rolling your eyes at what's coming out of their mouth. Like Netanyahu calling the protester, Hamas supporters, and anti-Semitism, as people are holding signs saying Jews against genocide. Come on now, come
I
on.
mean, seriously, it's almost like, and this is why I said it started with, we are probably in the age of the biggest irony ever. What
Hmm.
the more, it's like, there's a saying in our language, in Hindi, that the more tightly you try to, so it's like, the more tightly you try to hold on to sand, if you pick up sand and try to squeeze, the sand will just trickle out. You can't,
Mm-hmm.
hold on to
Hmm.
sand. And
Hmm.
it's exactly what's happening with hegemonic powers. The more tightly they're trying to hold on, it's just bleeding out between their fingers, squeezing out. It's just
Please say it.
gone.
Please say it. It's in Uru, right? Please say it,
It's in
right?
Hindi.
It's Hindi. Please say it in
Yeah.
Hindi because I feel like all languages have power. Could you say it for me?
My Hindi is atrocious, so I was just trying to paraphrase it. But yeah, so uh, so it's like, मुट्ठी जितनी शक्त करोगे उतना ही मिट्टी निकल जाएगी. So the more you
Okay.
squeeze, the more of the sand will trickle out. And that's exactly what is happening. The more they are squeezing, the more they are forcing, the more it's just trickling out and it's just gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And today they are making themselves obsolete. They are revealing the hegemony. They are doing our job.
Mm.
And
That's the beauty of it.
they are just, I mean, even people who would have supported, let's say, a Biden maybe a year ago, are
Hmm.
recoiling in absolute horror.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Yes, they are.
They they are they are doing our job. Good good for
And,
us.
and, and what I think is beautiful too with these protests is that it's also revealing the utter uselessness of the education system, of
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
the the indoctrination machine. These higher level universities, Yale, Harvard, Columbia, take millions, maybe billions of dollars every year from the US citizens who think they're going to get something, not just US, everyone, get that
Mm-hmm.
stamp of approval that you are a part of the club of education and you
Yeah.
can't possibly be educated outside this circle of hegemony and be taken seriously. They look ridiculous. And
And
so all they want them to do is divest from Israel, and they can't even do that. So my appeal to everyone is just stop going. Educate yourself outside of these structures, and let's start building a new community that doesn't see that stamp of approval as the end all or be all of our
I
egos.
know. And
Okay.
oh, just before I jumped in, and which is why I got late, I just read
Hmm.
that Brown University is divesting. I just read
Bravo.
that. I just read
Bravo.
before I jumped in, and
Ah.
I hope they go through with it. I hope that they go through with it. And
Mm.
what is education doing with military investment in the first place? I mean, what are they doing? I mean, I always knew MIT was one of the centers of research for everything that was happening around World War II, the weapons and
Hmm.
everything else. MIT was one of
Hmm.
the biggest places where research was happening.
Right.
But university after university, and today, Trina, what you hit upon is so crucial, that tomorrow, what they've actually succeeded in doing, and I'm talking about this from a perspective of a quote unquote once colonized nation, and
Hmm.
people who in India, even today, who look at a Harvard or a Stanford or a Yale and
Hmm.
being educated there as a sign of not only immense privilege, but also as a sign of immense intellectual capacity and brilliance and everything that goes with it. Not only does it
Right.
fetch you jobs, but it also fetches you that the social capital and that all of that associated with.
Yeah.
Now, what these universities, at least from the perspective of people like me, who would have once, honestly speaking, uh, loved to at least even go into Harvard, not even if not as a student, as in some capacity, even to just visit or just to pay my respect to a university of great thinkers. Today, will look upon a Harvard certificate or a CUNY Columbia University certificate with horror that, oh my God, this is the university that threw out their vice chancellor, or that called the NYPD
Mm-hmm.
on their own students and
Mm-hmm.
stood by while burly policemen pummeled students, tased them, maced them, pepper sprayed them for nothing more than asking for peace. I mean, really?
And sitting still,
And sitting
sitting
still?
quietly and praying and doing all of this high vibrational work. That tells you
Yes.
right there what they're
Yeah,
afraid of.
exactly, exactly.
It's deeper than this. It's much deeper than just voices. It's what those voices are saying out loud for the first time in a very long time is no, we don't want this. This is not the future. We don't have a future anymore. You've completely devastated the planet. And so we have nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose. So I swear, there are freedom fighters.
Yep,
There are freedom fighters because I think for the first time globally, everywhere around the world, not just in the United States, we see just how enslaved we are as a species on this planet by a
but
few.
yeah, yeah. And the best part is, because hegemony is hell bent on shooting itself in the foot. Good for us.
Mhm.
Uh, there was just last week, a U.S. representative was supposed to come to Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi. He
Mm.
did arrive in Delhi, but he was not allowed to enter the university by the students because they protested that we do not want genocide
Mm.
enablers in our university.
I
And
saw
that's
that.
India telling USA to FO. I was so
Ah,
grateful.
bravo.
Amazing.
Bravo.
So that's,
And
So
Modi.
I would love to share a very slight different tangent, but pointing in the same direction. I'm going to tell you something which I didn't expect to be able to tell you this week.
Mm. Mm.
That is that people within the chemicals industry, one of the biggest associations in Europe, are actively challenging the myopic focus on STEM within science. And do you know what they're doing?
Mm.
They're iterating it to STEAM, science, technology, the arts. So they're actually consciously going out, and I'm going to be one of their ambassadors to try and
Bravo.
push
Yes.
push to
yay!
push the importance of arts within all of the science
Yes,
disciplines. And they're already doing that
Yeah.
work. But just to say, this is like it's a tiny little crack in the system, but it's
this
a
is
really
so
significant one
important,
to
Gary.
try and open up. It's a massive one to open up within the system.
Oh, that's amazing, Gary. Congratulations, because I know you've been really working so hard within to push this shift in that area. So bravo to you. I'm very proud of you.
And this
Oh,
is so important.
yeah,
This is
Yeah,
so important
it's so
because
important.
myopic science and technology driven vision,
Mm.
without a grounding in social sciences, humanities, arts, the aesthetics, has brought us here.
Yeah, that's right.
100%.
That's right.
So what you're
That's
doing and saying is so important. And I, as a humanities student and graduate, have been writing about this for so long. That
Mm,
you
mm.
cannot
It's
have,
it's
you
so
cannot
interesting.
leave humanities out and do science. You cannot.
No.
It's amazing, Johanna. So actually, as I've thought about honestly, and this is why I'm excited about what's unfolding and collapsing all around us, right? And anyone watching us live, when we talk about collapse, like embrace it, right? I've not been able to speak so directly to this, right? Heather Luna, who we both know, Shahana, you may know Heather's work. I don't know Trina, but Heather does a lot of work around white supremacy culture patterns and helps people with love and holding space to say, hey, this is the patterns of supremacy culture. It's not
Mm-hmm.
because you're white, Garry. It's because of the culture you've been brought up on and indoctrinated in. Just happens to have
That's
been
right.
developed by a load of white men, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
distinction isn't clear enough for a lot of people. And what Heather
Mm-hmm.
Luna said to me about a year ago was, we're seeing collapse in the West now, but the global South has been under collapse for 500 years. And that opens the dialogue for me, at least, as a white guy in the West, to go, hey, like, there's no way that we can have cheap iPhones, cars on the road, big salaries compared to the so-called developing global South. There's a reason why I get paid a lot of money, and people working in a sweatshop somewhere get $3 a day, right? It's completely out of balance. It cannot be that
Absolutely.
way anymore. There's enough to
Absolutely.
go around, but we've got to stop having 99.9% of resource in the hand of 0.1% of human beings. And it is happening. It is happening right now. It truly is. And thank you both for being on this
Mm-hmm.
journey of surfacing it. It's so important. It's so
Yeah.
important.
Well, we're not going to, it's been unsustainable from the very beginning and truly psychotic that that 1% thought this was going to be forever, and they have done horrendous things like cut sustainable technology so that they can keep their oil reserves valuable when they're really nothing. It's not, there's tons of it. They've bottled water that was free flowing and full of life and full of synergy and energy that kept us alive and beings. I love that the arts are being brought in because the arts are connected to everything, and like spirit as well in our biology and mind body spirit alignment. It's all connected, and the arts create a certain resonance when you're creating. As somebody who paints and has always been very creative, someone who sings, we know that that voice box is a powerful tool because it can deceive or it can uplift. And we see it now so clearly how our voice is a powerful tool for change. And I'm so glad that more people are waking up to the change for unity rather than the divide and conquer, which has been the narrative of the so called intellectuals and the so called elites. It's just been a money making capitalism machine for centuries. That's all it's been. It's never been about the good of humanity, it's been about the good of a few. So now we're all waking up to that. And I'm excited at that collapse, as you say, Garry, because it's actually going to be, it's just like a forest that burns, right? It always springs back to life stronger and more potent than before. It's the phoenix. There's all kinds of, metaphors for this, but don't be afraid. Go into it, as you said. I think that's what's important. That's what I've been telling my clients. Don't be afraid.
And I'm so glad that arts, the humanities, the liberal arts, because you know what happens when we are so focused on technology and science, the so-called quote unquote, though with quantum physics we know that everything cannot be explained, but still
Hmm.
with science we try to make, or rather a section of die-hard believers in science try to make everything sound rational, logical, and
Hmm.
hence true
Hmm.
because science says so. But,
Hmm.
but they very conveniently ignore science when it suits their purpose.
Exactly.
And what is missing in that thing is we cannot explain everything on this planet. We can't. We shouldn't even try. The mystery, the magical is there for a purpose.
Yeah.
And the mystery and the magic comes through when you are singing, when you're painting, when you're dancing,
Mhm.
when you are cooking together, when you are reciting poetry together, when you are holding hands and dancing the dabke, you know.
Mm.
And that's why the students are in, and that's why you'll see hegemony extremely scared of anything that allows you to dream and imagine and vision and co-hold
Ah,
visions together. Envisioning together
yes.
for the hegemony is their death knell. Imagine a bunch of 21-year-olds painting their vision of a world. The old foggy hegemony is gone. It's anyways dead.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. I
Their
can see
muscly old
that.
men are dead, and you
Yeah.
can hear the music in the in the college campuses.
I've got to tell you both, like Shahana, as you spoke, all of my body, cellular, was just rumbling like a vibration, like every single cell as you
Yeah.
said that. Unreal.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And and you mentioned something about the transhumanism, and that's something that's recently came on my radar as well, in how they've been pushing us to do things to further enslave us with chips and the Neuralink bullshit, excuse my French, and all that stuff. I don't want any of that, especially when I know they don't even know the capacity of how we process information, because we only use 20% of our mind. And I think that has been engineered in that way with all the corrupted food that we've been poisoned with. Come on, it's all coming to light. Every single thing that this particular hegemony has done is to corrupt the system that we already have, that is deeply connected and powerful. Like they can't even measure the capacity of how the brain processes it, because it keeps readjusting. It readjusts and keeps readjusting. So they want to cap that like they do a chip, because the chip can only process within the confines of what it's made of. And after that, that's it. It has to be replaced. It burns out, but not how the neurons work in the brain. There's no cap. And so they teach us false science as well. They divide the sciences on purpose in order to segment and disconnect, divide and conquer the connectivity of all of them together. Biology is connected to psychology. Well, psychology is connected to biology. Biology is connected to chemistry, and so on and so forth. They're not separate. And they're also deeply connected to the mystical. Science is only about 300 years old. And it was created by a bunch of wealthy white dudes who wanted complete control over the narrative. They just made pseudoscience shit up about who was the most intelligent, how life developed, everything. And it's like, um we constantly keep disproving, and then you got Elon Musty trying to roll back to those times in that pseudoscience in his rhetoric, talking about who has certain ethnic groups have a smaller brain. Crap like that has no true whatsoever. Okay, but they just keep spewing it because they know that's worked in the past. They know that's worked. They're just I call it casting spells. But now everybody's like, block, dodge, but you know what I mean? It's not working anymore. And so I really implore everybody who's listening to this or watching this uh, live to keep cultivating a polymathic mind. I say it all the time. The more that you know, the more that you grow.
Exactly.
don't take our words for gospel. Just challenge it. Look it up. Say, wait a minute, Trina said something about this, or Sahana said something about that, or Garry said something. Go continue to expand your
Oh,
mind. We,
we've lost.
we lost Garry.
Yep, we'll
You
come
know,
back.
he'll come back. But it's really important that we do this, because I can tell you from my own journey, the sheer delight and joy of just doing research on these topics is unlike anything I've experienced in my life. It's exciting. I get goosebumps when I find another connection. And that's what we're here for. We're here to explore, in my opinion, to try to understand, but also accept that we won't know everything.
Yep. And
We
and
won't.
also the importance, like Harry said, the arts coming back into the mainstream is so very important, because that that joins, or rather the deliberate divide that was made, that was made to focus on science as the explainer of everything, and arts as something that could be ignored, and science with people associated with it are, I don't know, I mean, the ones who are qualified to get a job, qualified to do XYZ. But we have seen where pseudo rationality and the the deprivation of imagination, or deliberate deprivation of imagination, has brought the planet to this point. So reintroducing arts back, bringing it back, and making everything holistic again, means that that students, that youngsters, will not only see science as the explainer of everything, but will also know that to imagine, to vision, to draw, to paint are equally important, if not more.
Yeah. Well,
They
I
embody the human spirit like nothing ever
yeah,
does.
exactly. Children's imagination are so powerful, and I always remind my clients, remember when you were a child and that mud pie you swore it tasted like cake? You know, that tea party you swore you heard your dolls talking to you. You know, this type of active imagination is a creation process. You know, it's not the lunacy that a lot of people, like a lot of science, tries to explain away. You know what I mean? I remember, now we call it downloads, but I remember having downloads ever since I was a little kid, of things going through my mind, and not hearing voices per se, but sensations and feelings. And they made me want to do particular things, like go left and right. It's their sixth sense, that deeper knowing that resonates within all of us. We all have that. And
Yep.
so the reintroduction of arts to me is of magic, of imagination, of the essence of why we exist is to create, but not create just for the sense of profit for a few people. That's called slavery. Our We spend how many hours in the day just in survival mode? That's not the natural state of humans. And so that's why we have ADHD and ADD and all these other conditions, because we are like rebelling on a subconscious level, in an etymological level. you know um uh is that the word I meant? um yeah, it'll come. Something else popped in my head at the same time. See, I have ADD, so sometimes that happens. Um, but the epigenetics of our existence as beings on this planet has made these like internal shifts to get us back into alignment on what it is our purpose for this life is. And it's not to toil away. It's not just to survive, it's to thrive and experience and commune and share and connect. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
And I think the hegemony did its best to keep people separated and
Mm-hmm.
kill imagination, because community and imagining together are extremely two very subversive forces which can completely derail hegemony,
Mm-hmm.
which is why it has always been extremely fearful of people uniting, coming together in community,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
people coming together to create, whether it's powerful song, music, or plays, or drama, or anything.
Mm.
But
Mm.
the hegemony is extremely fearful of unity and community.
Speaking of music, I don't know if you saw my post about Ice Cube. He said basically the people who own the music industry are the same people who own the for profit prisons.
Hmm.
Same exact people.
Wow.
Same exact people. And I heard this about 5 or 6 years ago, but now I guess he's gotten brave enough with all of the exposure of these rap people, and even these heads of all of these record labels. And I want to point out before I lose that most of them are giants. Most of them are giants. And I'm being very careful about talking about
Your
that.
voice is cracking, or is it mine?
I hear it clear on my end,
Okay, okay, now it's
but
clear.
okay. So there's this I want to be very careful with my language because as my son is half ethnically Jew, um, I don't ever want anybody to try to claim anti-Semitism on me because I think it's ridiculous and it's a go-to for Zionists who use it as what's the word for that when people use
As a cover.
certain as
Use
a
it as a cover.
cover. Yeah, there's a particular word, but that it's used. But anyways, a cover for their activities, for their victimhood. They use victimhood in this case when it really wasn't even them that had went through that, um, and it wasn't their ethnic group that went with that. We're talking about people who have converted to Judaism to be very conveniently covered
Yeah,
by the protections that were built by a horrible atrocity, which I will point out too. There are still atrocities happening in Congo and Africa and other places that we don't nearly bring to the forefront. And in Haiti right now, they are the reason why the US is there is because they've been doing the same thing that they've been doing in Congo. And there's a guy, his name is Giorgio Biblio, who is a Zionist from Israel, who has been paying, just like in Congo, the terrorist groups to create chaos and massacre people for just chaos, purposes, and to keep the island, who was one of the main islands that broke free from colonial rule by sheer will and organization, um, in poverty. But
yeah,
there's and then lying to the world about why they're doing it. There are tons of resources, and there's
yeah,
huge meteor um it's kind of like sounds like uh Black Panther, in a
yeah,
lot of ways it sounds like Black Panther, in that there's this ore there, and they have the biggest deposit in the world of this ore that's from meteorites, and they've been secretly taking it out of the country in nighttime, secretly. And so there have been a lot of people finally coming up and speaking about all of the oil reserves as well. It's like it has more oil reserves. It's like a cup of oil from Venezuela compared to the reserves of oil that are in Haiti. And I'm just learning about this. I'm just learning, like, why do they keep attacking this tiny little island? You know, because they fought back the hegemony
Yeah.
and they don't want that little island to inspire every place else.
Yeah. And what, as a non-European, thankfully, I'm so glad I'm not not from anywhere in the global north. Uh, so as a non-white, non-European, and coming from quote unquote global south, developing country, whatever you call it, once colonized, so on.
Hmm.
Since we do not bear the guilt and the burden of the Holocaust, an
Hmm.
atrocious tragedy to be visited upon anyone, I completely accept that. A
Right.
tragedy, yes, but since we do not bear the guilt of it, to anyone in anywhere who's, you know, to us, it feels like Europe is dumping its burden of guilt onto a completely third nation, a third country, Palestine, who had
Right.
nothing to do with it.
Right.
But it's convenient. It was convenient because at that point, the British were the colonial masters and they could dispose of Palestine as they chose. And they
Right.
handed it to, the Israel, whoever wanted to set up Israel, the whole gang of group of men who were
The
conniving
the
to
the
get
the,
that.
the design. They're the Polish and Russian and
Yeah,
Ukrainian
and they were conniving to get that
Jews.
piece of
Yeah.
land for a long
Yeah.
time.
Zionists.
So the Lord Balfour just signed it away in a treaty, like, here it is, yeah, take it.
Yeah.
So it is just Europe dumping their guilt onto a completely third nation who had nothing to do with this
Right.
and who are being made to pay the price for Europe's guilt. Because at
Hmm.
one point of time, not only Europe, but even the US had turned away the Jews. And the Palestine, the Arab countries opened their arms to the Jews.
Hmm.
So today, and I want this today and I think I mentioned this in an earlier episode. In my hometown, Calcutta, there is a synagogue, a very old, 300 plus years old synagogue, which is maintained to this day by a Muslim family for
Hmm.
generations, for
Hmm.
generations. So all of this Islamophobia and this and that is a concocted Western thing.
That's right.
It's a completely concocted Western thing, A, because the Middle East is rich in oil, so the West wants their fingers in that pie, and they want to sort of manipulate the Middle East to keep control over the gas and the oil rich regions, with obviously support of the weak rulers in countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, etc. Or rather,
Hmm.
they plant those weak rulers in the first place. So any ruler who's opposed to the West, USA will just go and kill, just like they did
Hmm.
Patricia Lumumba and many others.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
so what you have is a concocted, propagandized, indoctrinated nation spouting what the media has been, sort of spouting for a century, ably guided by the state, and vilifying a set of people because it's just convenient for them at this point in
Hmm.
history. Earlier
That's
it
right.
was Jews, earlier it was Jews who were vilified, and today it's Islam. It's the Muslims.
No, the Western powers have found a way to vilify every single group other than white Protestant men. I don't every single group, okay? They vilified their own women. They definitely vilified Africans. They vilified Indians. They vilified
Everyone.
everyone besides themselves. They vilified themselves. Irish. They vilified,
Oh yeah.
this particular ruling hegemonic power, which goes back hundreds of years.
Oh, the Rothschild and the gang, the cartel. I call them the cartel of.
They are a cartel. They've been
Yeah,
a
they're
cartel
cartels of for centuries.
centuries. And the thing is that they hid so much. They hid so much that nobody knew who was at the root or what families were at the root. But we're going back centuries now on this stuff. And so what we as a collective must understand is that it was a self-serving, and now the Rothschilds got a new face, Larry Larry Fink of BlackRock. He's one of the
Yeah.
main puppeteers, along with all the hegemonic banking industry, which the Rothschilds, Rockefellers,
Yeah.
they're all still involved in this
Yeah.
because they are the ones that profit from war, profit from chaos. They give loans to both sides of the effort. So let's infiltrate and keep everybody bickering with each other.
Yep. That's the whole thing. Yeah.
That's the whole thing. And so the only thing that stops that is unification across belief systems, across genders, across everything.
And
Because
that's, yeah. And that's what's happening on the campuses, which is why they're losing their
exactly.
shit. And people, students of all faiths, across all divides, they're just together, doing their things
Yes,
together,
right. Yeah.
protecting each other, holding space for each other, coming together in community. And the
Mhm.
hegemony is losing its shit. I mean, look at those gigantic, burly policemen. They look awful. They're
Oh, they look
obscene.
so, they're so freaking
They're obscene.
obese.
They're
They're
obese and obscene.
obese. They're you can see the lack of intelligence in their
They're like,
eyes.
they're just like hulking. I don't know. And
Berserkers.
they're literally throwing people to the ground for nothing better than just sitting there or just even asking a question.
Yeah. Well, that's what their job is, which is all policing states' jobs are,
Yeah,
is
they're
to
foot soldiers of the
instill,
hedge.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're to instill fear. That's always, always, always been the case. To instill fear. So that's the same that you can tell they've been trained by the IDF because that's who's been training the
Yeah.
police of
Yeah.
the United States for what has it been 50 plus years now. And so, but we didn't know that. We didn't know that. So a lot of those techniques that have been killing American citizens and putting us in fear are the same ones they have been utilizing, first tested on the Palestinians, our poor people there, and then used over here. So if you look at the trail of the history, it always goes back in that direction. If you see the chaos in all the other countries, you can see it going in that direction. So, I think it's just like for me, it's been an astounding awakening, and even sometimes a deep sadness that I didn't know. But then understanding, how could I? How could I know? So I always tell my clients, be careful, don't go into self-deprecation. Look at this self-compassion. Love
Your
creates.
voice is gone again.
Huh?
When, ah,
Only love creates
no,
comfort.
it's gone again. No, something is happening. The volume is gone almost.
What about now? So,
No.
yeah. How about now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Shannon?
Oh, not really. It's still cracking.
It's still cracking. That's
Ah,
weird.
now it's better. Now it's better.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Now it's better.
yeah, I'm having connectivity issues from time to time here. So anyway, so just to reiterate that right now, I don't want people to be slipping into a sense of shame. Like I always say, shame is the dark cousin of narcissism. What we need to do right now is just see what was and fix what is and move forward in order to heal. And we're going to do that by cultivating a lot of compassion for ourselves, because we knew, what is that Bible verse? They know not what they do. Please forgive them. They know not what they do. Most of us did not know this was happening. A lot of us, and the ones that did know, their karma happens. There's a reckoning, and it's happening, and all we can do now is to try to vibrate higher, as I always say, vibrate higher, so that we can start unifications and stop worrying about all these false divides. They don't really exist. They were man-made, created to keep us at each other's throat. I love Sahana all the way over in Calcutta. I love
I,
Garry all the way out over in the UK or wherever he is right now. He's always traveling. But and more importantly, it wasn't until I started loving myself that all these beautiful things started entering to my life, like you guys. Yeah. So we're almost at the top of the hour. So let's go ahead, and is there are any last thoughts that you would like to share with our audience for the podcast and for this live?
I want to wind up from my side, with a poem by Fez. A few lines of Fez's poem,
Okay.
translated by Victor Kiernan in 1943. The poem was written in 1943, and it is called Speak. Speak, for your two lips are free. Speak, your tongue is still your own. This straight body still is yours. Speak, your life is still your own. See how in the blacksmith's forge flames leap high and steel glows red. Padlocks opening wide their jaws, every chain's embrace outspread. Time enough is this brief hour, until body and tongue lie dead. Speak, for truth is living yet. Speak whatever must be said. Thank you.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I just found it as you were reading it. I'm going to put that in the comments so everybody can read that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. That was such a beautiful end to this podcast and live for today. If you need to reach out to me or Sahana, you can reach out. What happened? Reach out to us on our podcast in LinkedIn, or you can go listen on Spotify. Beyond Hegemony. I'm at This Real Life Books. Sahana,
Your voice is gone again.
oh, no.
Yeah, now it's back again.
This is just, hegemony. It's hegemony. Could you tell everybody where to find you as well?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can find me on Medium, Age of Emergence. I try to write at least a weekly article, but it doesn't happen weekly. Make it a monthly article, so you can read me, or you can find me on Substack, where I write as well. And
All
finally,
right.
from my end, I want to once again applaud and bow to the students who are literally showing us the way to what can be,
Literally.
to what is possible. And I hope I have the courage to follow in their footsteps.
Beautiful. Literally. Thank you, Gen Z, and all of those supporting Gen Z. You were born to do this, and unfortunately, you're carrying the weight of what should have been done. But we thank you and we support you. So, yeah. So, thank you. I don't know why I'm invisible now, but that's okay. See everybody later. See you in 2 weeks, and have a blessed day.
Yeah, it's
I don't know what happened. Oops, up there. I didn't end the stream yet. I'm so horrible at these things.